So when I was in school, I struggled a lot. I was labeled learning disability student, and I was on an IEP. I was one of 25 students in a classroom, and it was always my experience. It was the squeaky wheel who got the grease, and I was always a quiet child who sank into the background. Even though I needed a lot of help, I didn't receive a lot of help, and so I continued to just struggle as I grew up in the traditional education classroom. It wasn't until in my upper elementary program where I started being pulled for lab classes that I got to experience a child-centered classroom. I was able to get more attention that I needed, more one-on-one direction. I would have benefited from having access to Montessori education, because I would have been able to work at my own pace and been able to repeat lessons as it was needed, to have the ability to really focus in on a particular subject until I was comfortable in it and learned it really well before moving on to something else. I don't think the traditional schoolroom gives you freedom for. The Piaget theory is a way of development. So brain development, like you develop certain parts of your brain at certain times, which is very, very similar to Montessori. Piaget states that from age 6 to 11, you're going to be within a specific realm of development, and then at age 11, you should be reaching from concrete to formal reasoning. I'm educating 8-year-olds to 10-year-olds. I have some that are really strongly within that concrete reasoning field, and I have a few that are starting the branch over to the formal reasoning. But I believe a lot of that is because we provide them opportunities to practice what they will need to establish formal reasoning. So things like problem solving, critical thinking, giving them the opportunities to practice these things in a safe environment. It's not like a light switch, it's a gradual process. To delve into the issue of traditional schools a little bit deeper, I want to talk about a growing problem that you see with school-age children, as a lot of children believe that they come to school believing it's boring, it's uninteresting, that they can't gain anything from it. And actually, they're finding now in studies that a third of adults have not reached Piaget's 4th level of development, which is kind of problematic when you're not reaching that formal reasoning. And so in one particular study of students for 2.5 years, they were saying that they expressed high levels of boredom and that the teachers were being highly pressured to move from concept to concept at very fast clip. And this created 2 major issues. The first issue is it confuses students who aren't able to grasp the materials. And then the second issue is this leaves little room for the teacher to embellish and to really delve into the meat of a lesson, because they have to move on at such a fast pace. And I have found this to be true within my own educational experience. So I've come up with, through my own educational schema, with a solution that I believe would help out a lot. And the main focus needs to be student-centered education, because basically that's where we're going to find progress. So, for instance, Montessori, which is a student-centered educational program, teaches something known as cosmic education. Now, cosmic education is really wonderful because it shows a child where their place is in the world, but not only just this is your place, but also this is where you fit into the whole entire world. And so what this does when you're giving a child a space, and it gives them identity, and it also shows them that how we're all interconnected and what they can do has an effect on other people. and the decisions they make have an effect on other people. And it gives them ownership, which ownership can be a great thing because that gives them responsibility. It's a buy-in. A second thing that I believe is really important is giving room for students to have the ability to practice problem solving. Within a classroom, they'll have the ability to really work on critical thinking and problem solving. This is a main part of Piaget's fourth stage of development. And if students aren't given the ability to practice these things in a classroom setting and within real life settings, they're not going to use them because it won't make sense. One way to develop abstract thinking is giving students a problem solving for life. One way of knowing is like the scientific method. It's a way of thinking about how do I approach a problem and solve it. One that I found that I think is very interesting is referred to as design thinking. This is a problem-solving strategy used by people in the design field. And it's a 7-step process that walks students through how to solve a problem, how to approach that problem, and recognize, okay, what can I do to appropriately fix this and solve this, and an evaluation process of that problem, and that is practical, that they be able to solve the problem. It's my hope that the students will grow and that they will develop strong, positive self-efficiency. When students are given multiple opportunities to practice skills within the formal reasoning, students will become more confident, and it will help them to understand that intelligence can be grown and that it isn't stagnant, that they can actually grow their own intelligence. In conclusion, the traditional classroom is not adequate in developing students to the formal reasoning of Piaget, and therefore something needs to change. There needs to be a form of child-centered education so that kids can be reached and students can grasp the materials that they need to enter into society with confidence. Maria Montessori states that children are better prepared to be independent and responsible individuals through cosmic education and the Montessori method.